cold wind whispered through towering pines as Ethan pushed deeper into the forest. His boots sank into damp earth, and the fading sunlight struggled to reach the moss-covered ground beneath the thick canopy. The map in his hand was torn and stained, but it was the only guide he had. He glanced down at Max, his loyal golden retriever, whose ears perked at every unfamiliar sound. Ethan's heart pounded, not from the cold, but from the growing realization that he might have lost the trail for good. "We should have been out by now, Max," Ethan muttered, voice tight with worry. The dog gave a low whine and nudged Ethan's hand, sensing the unease. They had set out early that morning to explore a forgotten hiking route, but something had shifted. The familiar path disappeared behind thick undergrowth. The forest seemed to close in, shadows stretching longer with every step. Ethan's breath came in shallow gasps, and an ache blossomed in his chest. A mix of fear and determination. He couldn't let the wild take him. Night began to fall, wrapping the forest in a blanket of darkness. Ethan fumbled for his flashlight, but the beam only cut through a thin slice of the endless trees. Max suddenly stiffened, ears erect, then let out a long, mournful howl that echoed like a call to the sky. The sound was raw and desperate, a cry that seemed to break the silence around them. Ethan felt a spark of hope stir in the cold air. Maybe someone would hear. Maybe they were not alone in this vast wilderness. The howl did not go unanswered. Somewhere beyond the trees, faint voices rose, uncertain and distant, but unmistakably human. Ethan's pulse quickened as the figures emerged from the darkness. An odd group of villagers, wrapped in worn cloaks, faces marked by years of life far from the modern world. Max wagged his tail cautiously, but kept close to Ethan, sensing the weight of the moment. The villagers' eyes held something strange, a mixture of curiosity and guarded wariness. One of the villagers stepped forward, a woman with piercing green eyes. "You should not be here," she said softly but firmly. Her voice carried an ancient rhythm, as if it belonged to the forest itself. Ethan swallowed hard, still shaken, but grateful for any help. "I'm lost," he confessed, voice cracking with relief and exhaustion. "My dog's howl brought you." The woman nodded slowly, signaling the others. They moved silently through the trees, leading Ethan and Max toward the faint glow of firelight ahead. As they walked, Ethan noticed the village's odd layout. Circular huts made from bark and stone, symbols carved into wood, and a quiet order that felt almost sacred. Max's tail lowered, ears flicking nervously. The villagers moved with purpose but spoke little. Ethan's mind raced with questions. Who were these people? Why did they live so hidden? And what secrets did this village hold beneath its calm surface? The night had just begun to unfold its mysteries. Under a sky heavy with stars, the village breathed with life around a central fire. Shadows danced on faces weathered by wind and time. Ethan sat on a wooden bench, Max at his feet, their bodies weary but alert. The villagers watched silently, their eyes reflecting the firelight in something deeper, a story untold. One of the older men, his beard like silver threads, finally spoke. "You have entered a place forgotten by the world." His voice was steady, inviting yet heavy with unspoken warnings. Ethan leaned forward, the weight of his ordeal pressing on him. "Why hide here?" he asked quietly. "What do you protect?" The elder's gaze drifted to the horizon, where mountains loomed like silent guardians. "Our way is old," he said, "passed down in the shadows to guard a secret that must never leave." The villagers exchanged glances, their expressions guarded but not unfriendly. Max growled softly, as if sensing the fragile tension. Ethan realized their rescue had led him somewhere far beyond lost trails, into the heart of a hidden world. Suddenly, a faint rustling from the edge of the firelight made everyone pause. Ethan's breath caught. The village's secret was waking. The howl of his dog had not only saved him, but opened a door, one that might never close again. The night air was thick with silence, broken only by the crackle of the fire and the soft rustle of leaves beyond the village's edge. Ethan's mind raced with questions, but the villagers said little, as if the very act of speaking might stir something better left undisturbed. Max rested close by, his body tense, eyes scanning the darkness. Ethan noticed how the dog's instincts seemed sharper here. like he understood the unspoken rules of this place better than any human. The elder, whose silver beard glowed faintly in the firelight, motioned for Ethan to follow him. They walked through narrow paths lined with strange carvings, symbols that seemed ancient, their meaning lost to time. "This village has lived in silence for generations," the elder murmured. "We protect what was hidden long ago." Ethan's heart pounded in the quiet. The forest around them felt alive, watching, waiting. He sensed the villagers' unease. Their calm was a fragile mask over something deeper. As they reached a small hut, the door creaked open, revealing flickering candlelight and walls lined with worn scrolls and faded drawings. The elder's voice dropped to a whisper. "You must understand, outsiders are rare. They bring change, and with it, danger." Ethan's eyes met the elder's. "What kind of danger?" he asked softly. The old man sighed. "Secrets that once revealed cannot be hidden again. This village guards a past that others would destroy." Max gave a low growl, his gaze sharp and wary. Ethan felt the weight of the moment. The rescue was only the beginning of something far more complex. At dawn, the village awoke quietly. Ethan watched from the edge of the communal fire as villagers gathered, their faces solemn but composed. The dog's howl from the night before seemed to echo still, a reminder of the fragile link between two worlds. The elder approached Ethan again, eyes reflecting a mixture of sorrow and hope. "Tonight, you will witness the rite," he said. Ethan's curiosity tightened with unease. "Rite?" he repeated. The elder nodded. "A tradition to honor the spirits of the forest and protect our home." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan found himself in the center of a circle formed by the villagers. The air smelled of burning herbs and earth. Shadows flickered as torches cast their light over faces both young and old. Max sat quietly beside Ethan, sensing the importance but restless in the charged atmosphere. The elder began to chant softly, his voice weaving through the stillness like a thread of ancient power. Ethan felt himself drawn into the rhythm, caught between fascination and fear. Suddenly, a figure stepped forward, an agile young woman with eyes that seemed to glow under the torchlight. She moved gracefully, a dance that spoke of reverence and strength. Ethan watched, feeling the pulse of the village's soul. Yet beneath the beauty, a tension lingered, a silent warning that this hidden place held rules he could neither fully understand nor break. Max's ears twitched as a distant howl rose, answering the night. The rite was more than tradition, it was a shield. But for how long? The following morning, Ethan woke to a quiet village still wrapped in mist. Max was already alert, pacing near the edge of the woods. Ethan followed him, drawn by a restless energy that matched his own. The elder had warned him. The village's past was heavy, its shadows long. Walking through the misty trees, Ethan felt the weight of history pressing around him, a story waiting to be uncovered. At the edge of a small clearing, Ethan found a weathered stone altar, covered in moss and strange markings. The elder's words came back to him, secrets that others would destroy. He traced his fingers over the carvings, sensing a message buried deep in time. Max barked softly, nudging Ethan's hand toward a hidden path veiled by hanging branches. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped forward, feeling the pull of something unseen. The path led to a small chamber carved into the earth, walls lined with ancient symbols and artifacts. Ethan's breath caught as he realized this was more than a village. It was a guardian of forgotten stories. The dog's howl from the night before echoed in his mind, a reminder that their rescue was part of a greater call. Suddenly, footsteps approached, and Ethan turned to face a figure cloaked in shadows, eyes shining with quiet intensity. "You seek answers," the voice said, "but some truths come with a price." Ethan stood frozen as the figure stepped into the dim light of the earthen chamber. A woman, tall and poised, her dark eyes steady and unblinking. She carried an air of calm authority that unsettled and intrigued him at once. Max shifted beside Ethan, his body tense but protective, a silent guardian against the unknown. The weight of the moment pressed heavily on Ethan's chest, as if the chamber itself was holding its breath. "You seek answers," the woman said again, voice low but firm. "But every truth in this village carries a cost." Ethan swallowed hard, fighting the urge to turn away from the shadows gathering around him. I just want to understand what happened. Why my dog's howl brought me here, he whispered. The woman's gaze softened, but only slightly. Your dog's call stirred more than just rescuers. It awakened memories this village has buried for centuries. Ethan's mind reeled. What memories could a place so hidden possibly hold? The woman stepped closer, revealing the delicate lines of her face, etched with years of both hardship and strength. Our ancestors made a choice, to live apart, to protect a secret that could change the world outside these woods. But secrets are never silent, they echo. Your arrival marks a turning point. She gestured to the walls where faded symbols seemed to pulse faintly in the dim light. Those who hear the call must be ready to pay the price. The truth felt like a heavy stone pressing down on Ethan's spirit. His gaze dropped to Max, whose amber eyes met him with unwavering trust. This dog, who had howled into the night, had not only saved him, but had tethered him to something larger than either could have imagined. What price? Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The woman's expression darkened. Knowledge, responsibility, a path that will challenge everything you thought you knew. Suddenly the chamber's quiet was shattered by a distant rumble, the sound of the forest shifting, alive and restless. Ethan's heart thundered. The woman nodded toward the narrow entrance. You must choose, Ethan, to leave or to stay and learn what lies beneath. The words hung in the air like a challenge, and Ethan realized that his journey was no longer about escape. It was about facing a truth that could reshape his life forever. Max growled softly, stepping protectively in front of Ethan as the shadows outside the chamber deepened. The howl that had once summoned hope now sounded like a summons to a destiny Ethan could not ignore. With a deep breath, he nodded. I want to understand. I want to help. The woman's eyes glimmered with a mixture of relief and caution. Then your path begins now. As the chamber doors creaked open, the forest outside seemed to lean in, watching, waiting. Ethan stepped forward, Max at his side, ready to face the secrets that lay hidden beneath the wild. Secrets his dog's howl had brought to light, secrets that demanded a price. The night was far from over. The forest beyond the chamber seemed to pulse with a quiet energy as Ethan stepped out, Max close by, his fur brushing against the damp leaves. The woman, whose name was Mira, led the way with sure steps that betrayed years of knowledge. Ethan struggled to keep pace, his mind racing with questions that had no easy answers. The villagers watched silently as they disappeared into the shadows, their faces unreadable under the pale moonlight. The village holds more than homes, Mira explained in a voice that barely disturbed the night. Beneath us lies the true heart, an ancient place where the past and present collide. Ethan glanced at her, trying to grasp the weight behind her words. The path narrowed, twisting through roots and rocks until they reached a concealed entrance hidden beneath a thick curtain of vines. Mira reached out, parting the greenery to reveal a dark stone staircase spiraling downward. Ethan's breath hitched as he descended into the cool earth, each step echoing softly against the carved walls. The air grew heavy with history, carrying the scent of damp stone and old secrets. Max's nails clicked lightly on the floor, a steady rhythm that grounded Ethan's swirling thoughts. At the bottom, a vast chamber opened before them, lit by glowing crystals embedded in the walls, casting a soft, otherworldly light. This is where our ancestors stored their knowledge, Mira said, gesturing to shelves filled with scrolls and artifacts, some cracked with age, others surprisingly well preserved. Ethan moved closer, tracing his fingers over a brittle parchment covered in unfamiliar symbols. What kind of knowledge? He asked, voice filled with both awe and caution. Mira's eyes darkened. Knowledge of the forest's power, its dangers, and the pact made to protect it from those who would exploit it. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. The howls Max had made in the night suddenly took on new meaning, a call not just for help, but a signal awakening the village's ancient defense. Mira's gaze held his, steady and unwavering. You were brought here for a reason. Your arrival stirs the balance. We need your help to keep the village safe. Max barked softly, his eyes gleaming with fierce loyalty. Ethan swallowed hard, realizing that the wild was no longer just a place to survive. It was a place that demanded courage, trust, and sacrifice. As they moved deeper into the chamber, Ethan understood that this hidden world was far more complex and dangerous than he had ever imagined. The secrets waiting here were alive, waiting for someone brave enough to face the consequences. And the price of knowing them was only just beginning to unfold. Ethan's footsteps echoed softly in the chamber as he absorbed the weight of the knowledge around him. Ancient scrolls, worn statues, and relics from long-forgotten times filled the space like the whispers of the past waiting to be heard. Yet despite the quiet, Ethan felt eyes on him, unseen watchers lurking just beyond the edges of the glowing crystals. Max growled low, his body stiffening, ears pricked forward. Ethan's heart quickened. Something was watching, waiting. Mira's voice cut through the silence. "Not all who live here are visible to the eye," she said quietly. "The forest protects itself with more than just walls and watchful eyes. Spirits linger, guardians of the secrets, bound by the pact our ancestors made." Ethan's breath caught. The idea of unseen forces guarding the village both unsettled and fascinated him. "Are they dangerous?" he asked. Mira's expression held a mix of warning and reassurance. "They protect, but they can be relentless." Suddenly, a soft rustling came from the shadows, and the air grew thick with tension. Ethan instinctively stepped closer to Max, feeling the dog's steady presence beside him. A faint shimmer flickered near a carved stone pillar, and then the shape of a figure emerged, translucent, shimmering like a dream caught between worlds. Ethan's eyes widened, but he forced himself to remain calm. The figure's gaze met his, old and wise, filled with sorrow and silent resolve. It spoke without words, its presence carrying a message Ethan couldn't yet understand. Mira stepped forward, bowing her head in respect. "They watch over this place, reminding us of the balance we must keep. Your arrival disturbs that balance." Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settle heavy in his chest. The rescue had been more than a chance. It was a summons. To protect, to learn, and to carry a burden few outside this hidden world could imagine. Max whimpered softly as if sensing Ethan's turmoil. Ethan knelt and ran a hand through the dog's fur. "We will face this together," he whispered. The spirits faded into the shadows, leaving behind a profound silence. Ethan knew then that the village's secrets were alive, restless, and that every choice from here on would ripple far beyond the trees. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Mira's voice held a quiet urgency. "Tomorrow you will meet others who have answered the call. They carry the village's future in their hands." Ethan nodded, a mixture of fear and determination tightening inside him. The unseen watchers were not just protectors, they were reminders that the path ahead was fraught with challenges. But with Max by his side, Ethan felt a flicker of hope. The wild was no longer just a place to be lost in. It was a world demanding courage, trust, and sacrifice. As dawn crept softly over the horizon, Ethan felt the weight of the village's silent anticipation pressing upon him. The day ahead was unlike any other, a gathering of those who had heard the call, each carrying a story woven with hope and sacrifice. Max padded quietly beside him, his senses alert, mirroring Ethan's own nervous energy. The villagers moved with purpose through the forest pass, leading Ethan toward a clearing ringed by towering ancient trees. The clearing was already alive with figures, men and women cloaked in simple garb, faces weathered by hardship but lit with fierce determination. Their eyes met Ethan's with a mix of curiosity and guarded welcome. Among them was a boy, no older than 12, whose bright eyes shone with quiet resolve. "You must be the one the Howl brought," he said softly, stepping forward. Ethan nodded, surprised by the boy's confidence. "I am Ethan," he replied, "and this is Max." The boy smiled faintly. "We all have roles here. Your journey has just begun." Mira approached, her presence commanding yet gentle. "This gathering is for those who have answered the village's call," she explained. "We come from different paths but share a common purpose: to protect what must remain hidden." Ethan listened closely as each person shared a brief story, tales of loss, courage, and the silent vow to guard the village's secrets. Max shifted restlessly, sensing the gravity in the air. The dog's presence seemed to offer comfort, a silent thread tying the group together. Ethan felt a surge of emotion. These were not strangers but allies, chosen by forces beyond understanding to stand together. Mira's gaze met his, steady and encouraging. Tomorrow we begin the training, learning to listen to the forest, to understand its language, and to become its protectors. The words settled deep within Ethan, mingling with the lingering echoes of the spirits he had seen. This was more than survival. It was a commitment to a hidden world that demanded courage and heart. As the sun rose higher, painting the clearing with golden light, Ethan knew that the howl had been a call to something far greater than rescue. It was an invitation to belong, to fight for a future bound by trust and sacrifice. Max barked softly, nudging Ethan's hand, reminding him that no matter the path ahead, they would face it together. The wild had found its guardian, and that guardian was ready to answer the call. The morning sun filtered through the dense canopy as Ethan gathered with the other villagers at the edge of the forest. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and earth, a reminder that the wild was alive, watching and teaching. Mira stood before the group, her voice calm but firm. To protect the village, you must first listen to the forest. It speaks in whispers, in movements, in the silence between. Ethan looked to Max, who sat attentively, his ears twitching as if understanding every word. Their first lesson was simple yet profound. Observe. Ethan's eyes traced the delicate patterns of light filtering through the leaves, the rustle of small creatures hidden in the underbrush, in the faint trails left by animals long gone. The forest is a living web, Mira explained. Every sound, every movement tells a story. Ethan bent to examine a set of paw prints, matching them with Max's own tracks. The dog watched Ethan carefully, as if encouraging him to see beyond the obvious. As the day deepened, the lessons grew more demanding. Mira taught them how to move quietly, blending with shadows, how to read the changing winds, and how to sense the forest's moods: anger, calm, even warning. Ethan struggled but felt a growing connection with the wild around him. Max was his guide, often pausing to sniff the air or alert with a low growl. The dog's instincts mirrored the forest's heartbeat, teaching Ethan to trust not only his own senses, but also the deep bond they shared. During a quiet moment by a stream, Ethan felt a sudden chill. The water shimmered strangely, reflecting something beyond his eyes. Mira's voice broke the silence. The forest holds memories, some painful, some hopeful. To protect it, you must face both. Ethan's thoughts flickered to the villagers' stories, the spirits he had seen, and the secret the village guarded. Max rested his head on Ethan's knee, a silent promise of loyalty. As the sun began to set, the group gathered again around the fire, tired but changed. Ethan felt a quiet strength growing inside him, a mix of humility and determination. The forest was no longer just a place he was lost in, it was becoming a part of him. The howl that had saved him was now a song he would carry forward, a bond linking him to the village, the wild, and to Max in a way he had never known before. Night had fallen again over the village, but this time it felt different, charged with a quiet energy that hummed beneath the stars. Ethan sat beside the fire, Max curled at his feet, both weary but ready. The lessons from the forest echoed in his mind, a rhythm of understanding and respect. Around him, the villagers prepared for the final ceremony, the moment when he would truly become part of their world, not just a lost stranger. Mira approached, her eyes soft but serious. "Tonight, you will join the howl," she said, her voice steady. "It is the voice of the village, the forest, and the bond between all who protect this place." Ethan nodded, swallowing a wave of emotion. He glanced down at Max, whose tail wagged slowly, sensing the significance. The dog's howl had brought help before. It would now become a symbol of hope, strength, and unity. As the villagers gathered in a circle beneath the moonlight, Ethan took a deep breath. The cold night air filled his lungs, grounding him in the moment. Then, with Max beside him, he lifted his voice in a long, clear howl, a call that rippled through the trees, reaching into the darkness beyond. Around him, the villagers joined in, their voices rising in harmony. It was a sound both ancient and alive, a promise to protect the secrets of the wild together. The howl echoed far beyond the village, weaving through the forest like a thread connecting past and future. Ethan felt tears prick his eyes, overwhelmed by the journey, from being lost and afraid to standing strong beside those who had become his family. Max's howl blended seamlessly with his own, a testament to their bond and the courage they had found in each other. In that moment, the hidden village was no longer a secret, but a sanctuary, and Ethan was no longer lost in the wild. As the last echoes faded into the night, Mira smiled gently. "You have found your place," she said, "and the forest has found its guardian." Ethan looked around at the faces illuminated by firelight, faces filled with trust, hope, and quiet strength. He knew the road ahead would hold challenges, but he was ready. With Max by his side and the village behind him, he would carry the howl forward, a beacon of light in the wilderness. The forest was no longer a place of fear, it was home. If you enjoyed this journey into the wild, where courage, loyalty, and secrets collide, please like this video and subscribe for more stories that will pull at your heart and spark your imagination. Have you ever experienced a moment when your pet led you through something unforgettable? Share your story in the comments. I would love to hear it. Love to